March 16, 1962. A massive aircraft carrying 107 people vanishes without a trace over the Pacific Ocean. No distress call, no wreckage, no survivors. To this day, not a single piece of debris has ever been found. This is the story of Flying Tiger Line Flight 739, aviation's most haunting mystery that the government tried to keep secret for decades. On March 14, 1962, at Travis Air Force Base in California, 93 elite U.S. Army Rangers boarded a Lockheed Super Constellation aircraft operated by Flying Tiger Line. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were specially trained Rangers, hand-picked from units across the nation. They were communications specialists, electronics experts, and sharpshooters headed to Vietnam on a mission so classified that even their families weren't told the details. The flight was designated as Military Air Transport Service Flight 739, and it would make several refueling stops on its journey to Saigon, Honolulu, Wake Island, Guam, and the Philippines. Alongside the 93 Army Rangers were 3 South Vietnamese soldiers and 11 civilian crew members, including the highly experienced Captain Gregory P. Thomas, who had logged over 19,500 flight hours. The first leg to Hawaii was routine, taking the usual 12 hours. However, upon landing in Honolulu, there was a peculiar incident. The head flight attendant complained that the plane didn't have adequate crew rest areas, according to regulations. After a 30-minute delay and the addition of another mattress, the flight continued. At Wake Island, something even stranger occurred. In what would become one of the most eerie coincidences in aviation history, all 4 original flight attendants deplaned and were replaced by 4 completely new crew members: Crystal Diana Rader, Barbara Jean Wamsley, Patricia Wassam, and Hildegard Muller. These 4 women had no idea they were boarding a flight that would vanish into history. The plane landed in Guam for refueling and routine maintenance checks. Everything appeared normal. The weather was perfect, clear skies and calm seas. The aircraft was deemed airworthy, and the crew was qualified and ready. At approximately 3:00 a.m. local time on March 16, Flight 739 took off from Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, heading toward Clark Air Base in the Philippines. Then at 30:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the plane made its last routine radio contact with Guam Air Traffic Control. The communication was normal, reporting their position, and everything aboard was functioning properly. But when controllers tried to reach the flight just 9 minutes later for a standard position report, there was only silence. Flight 739 had completely vanished from the skies. What happened next triggered the largest peacetime air and sea rescue operation in the Pacific since Amelia Earhart's disappearance 25 years earlier. The U.S. Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Marines mobilized a massive search effort involving 300 personnel, 48 aircraft, and 8 surface vessels. They scoured more than 144,000 square miles of ocean over 8 grueling days. They found nothing: no wreckage, no oil slicks, no life rafts, no bodies. It was as if the massive 4-engine aircraft and everyone aboard had been swallowed by the sea without leaving a single trace. But there was one chilling clue. The crew of the tanker ship SSTL Lenzen reported witnessing something extraordinary at approximately 1:30 a.m. local time, near the plane's expected position. 5 crew members observed what they described as an intensely luminous mid-air explosion. The flash was bright enough to illuminate the ship's decks. They reported seeing a vapor trail overhead, moving east to west, and as it passed behind a cloud, a massive explosion erupted. A white nucleus surrounded by a reddish-orange glow with radial lines of colored light shooting outward. The tanker immediately changed course and spent 6 hours searching the area where the fireballs appeared to fall into the ocean. Despite their efforts, they found absolutely nothing. No debris, no fuel slick, no evidence whatsoever that an aircraft had crashed there. The Civil Aeronautics Board launched a comprehensive investigation that would last over a year. Their findings were both thorough and frustratingly inconclusive. The aircraft was mechanically sound. The crew was among the most experienced in the airline industry. Captain Thomas alone had 3 562 hours flying that specific aircraft type. The weather conditions were ideal: no storms, no turbulence, nothing that would cause a catastrophic failure. Protocol had been followed to the letter, aside from the minor mattress incident in Hawaii. Most telling was the complete absence of any distress signal. In aviation, even the most sudden catastrophic events like explosive decompression or structural failure, typically allow enough time for pilots to send some form of emergency communication. The fact that Flight 739 went silent instantly suggested something happened so quickly and so violently that the crew had no opportunity to react. The official report stated, "A summation of all relevant factors tends to indicate that the aircraft was destroyed in flight." However, due to the lack of any substantiating evidence, the board is unable to state with any degree of certainty the exact fate of N69291C. In the absence of concrete answers, theories proliferated. Many believe the flight was sabotaged, possibly during the unsupervised time the aircraft sat on the tarmac in Guam. Frank B. Lynott, the Flying Tiger Line's executive vice president, stated that aviation experts considered it impossible for the super constellation to explode under normal operating conditions. The aircraft's fuel system was designed with multiple redundancies precisely to prevent such catastrophes. Others speculated about the nature of the secret mission itself. This was March 1962, right at the beginning of America's involvement in Vietnam, a time when the U.S. government was publicly denying any significant military presence in Southeast Asia while covertly expanding operations. The soldiers aboard Flight 739 weren't just any troops. They were specially selected Rangers trained in communications and electronics, suggesting their mission involved sophisticated intelligence operations. Adding to the mystery, another Flying Tiger Line aircraft crashed in the Aleutian Islands on the very same day, carrying classified military cargo. This coincidence led some to suspect coordinated sabotage, though no evidence ever supported this theory. For the families left behind, the tragedy was compounded by the government's wall of silence. Because the mission was classified, and the soldiers technically weren't in a designated combat zone when they disappeared, they weren't initially recognized as Vietnam War casualties. Their names weren't added to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. For decades, families like that of Army Specialist Donald Sargent received no information, no closure, and no official recognition of their loved ones' sacrifice. Donald Sargent's niece, Jennifer Kirk, has spent years advocating for the 107 lost souls. She and other family members have written countless letters to government officials, begging for any information about what happened. Nothing was ever given to them. Kirk said in interviews, "A lot of people don't know the story because everything was all top secret. It wasn't until 2021 that Wriths Across America founder Morrill Worcester erected the first and only memorial bearing the names of all 107 people who vanished aboard Flight 739. Located in Maine, the inscription reads, "Missing in action, presumed dead." Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 went missing on March 16, 1962, with 93 U.S. Army soldiers on board. These men and their flight crew perished in what would become one of the biggest aviation mysteries out of the Vietnam War era. The names of those who gave their lives and who remain missing are inscribed here so that they will be said aloud and their memory will live on. Flight engineer George Michael Now's daughter revealed a haunting detail. Her father had undergone special training for a year before the flight. Before departing, he left behind his identification and wedding ring, suggesting he knew the mission carried exceptional risk. He left behind a wife of 15 years and 4 children aged 8, 10, 12, and 2019. Senator Gary Peters introduced Senate Bill 2571 to add the names of Flight 739's passengers and crew to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The bill gained support from multiple senators, but ultimately stalled in committee. Families continue to fight for official recognition, believing these soldiers deserve to stand alongside the 58,318 other names on that wall. What really happened to Flying Tiger Line Flight 739? After more than 6 decades, we still don't know. The most likely explanation, supported by the tanker crew's eyewitness account, is that the aircraft suffered a catastrophic mid-air explosion. But what caused it? Sabotage. A technical failure so rare it defies explanation. Something we haven't even considered. The complete absence of debris remains perhaps the most baffling aspect. In modern aviation disasters, even when planes crash into the deep ocean, debris eventually surfaces. Seats, luggage, life vests, something always floats. But Flight 739 left nothing behind. The Pacific Ocean, with its deepest trenches reaching over 7 miles down, may have simply swallowed the evidence whole. Today, Flight 739 stands as a sobering reminder of how much we still don't understand about aviation disasters. It represents not just an unsolved mystery, but also a forgotten chapter of the Vietnam War. A chapter written in the lives of 107 people who vanished while serving their country, leaving behind families who have waited 62 years for answers that may never come. The truth about Flight 739 is out there, somewhere in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, locked in the wreckage of a Lockheed super constellation that the world has spent 6 decades trying to find. Until that day comes, if it ever does, this will remain aviation's strangest and most haunting mystery. The disappearance of Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 reminds us that even in our modern world, some mysteries remain unsolved. If this story captivated you, please subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. Hit that like button and share this video to help ensure the 107 souls aboard Flight 739 are never forgotten. What do you think happened? Share your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than any theory we can imagine.